Before diving into the bloody deep, I have 10 amazing tips to enhance your runs in Abyssus to become the ultimate slayer of deep sea creatures. Using my own strategies, I'll show you the exact build that helped me clear maps in seconds and destroy the final boss in under a minute, so you can avoid becoming fish food like this poor fella and claim the throne of the Royal Abyss. Let's dive in. First up is to smack some pots. I thought this was a really funny one to start off with because there's a common mechanic in games that around the environment you can find boxes and pots that you can break for loot or currency usually. So like an idiot, I'm cruising around the levels here and going around and breaking all these pots, and there's absolutely nothing in them. For this game, you actually have to look for the gold pots. And what do you know? There's gold in them. So don't go around wasting your time like I did. Just look for the pots with the gold. The second tip is starting funds. Golden keys are super important for getting those extra blessing upgrades, charms, and healing items like the healing syringes during your runs. Before starting your run, you can unlock starting funds on the second tier of the soul wheel. That'll get you started out with 2 keys and 100 gold. You have a chance to get keys from chests or altars during your runs, but that is all luck. So might as well go with the sure bet on the soul wheel by unlocking starting funds. Early on in the game, you'll need keys to unlock the merchant room, and you'll also need it to unlock a treasure room that contains a lot of gold and a chest that can be found during your runs to help you become even more powerful. Coming in at number 3 is Fortune Favors the Bold. For good fortune, gold is what you need to succeed. If you choose the Fortune Blessing for your primary or secondary mod, you can have infinite damage scaling based on how much gold you have. The more Fortune Blessings, the more gold you find, and the more damage you deal. This is due to Gold Burst, which gives you a percentage chance to deal damage to an enemy based on how much gold you have. Plus, there's even more damage baked right into the minor Fortune Blessings. There are ones like Gold Rush, which allows you to stack fire rate and reload speed, leading to more DPS. Erupting Gold, which gives a percentage chance for Gold Burst to explode. Exponential Gold, which just gives you a whopping 20% of your gold as additional damage. Or even be able to just turn your enemies immediately into gold. This mechanic is so much fun to hear your enemy hit the ground with the clink clink noise. Using Gold Burst on my primary mod of the Tesla gun got me my first ever successful expedition run. I had 852 gold by the end of that run. I was doing so much damage. It is between the Fortune Blessing and the Lightning Blessing for my personal favorite. At number 4 is When in Need. This one took me a while to figure out, but you can actually unequip charms from your inventory, which will drop them on the ground. Then you can smash them with your melee wrench to destroy them for gold. A legendary charm will give you 25 gold, a rare one 15 gold, and a common 5 gold. It's not a lot of gold, but it can work wonders in a pinch if you're at the merchant and need just a tiny bit more gold to afford that one more item before you head out. Tip number 5 is to stick with it. Once you find a gun you like, go ahead and complete the objectives to unlock all 3 primary mods and all 3 secondary mods. Chances are, if you like the starting mods, you'll find an even more potent combination with the other tasty unlocks. Take the plasma gun for example. The starting mods were a semi-auto plasma ball and a slow-firing piercing laser. I didn't even like it that much until I unlocked the flak cannon and the seeker primary mods, and the adhesive compound and void infusion secondary mods. It completely changed how the gun functioned, and it became my favorite gun in the game, using the machine gun plasma with the mini black holes slowing the enemies. Up next is Short Range Disaster. To me, short range weapons just don't seem very good against the bosses. At least they're not my first pick. They're good against the trash mobs and even the more difficult common enemies, but not as much against the mini bosses and main biome bosses, as it's sometimes harder to get close to the bosses to have the close range weapons be the most effective and do the most damage, as you can see with this boss fight. A lot of the abilities from the enemy bosses start from the boss and they move outward, so being really close to them doesn't give you much reaction time. But hey, maybe it's just me getting old and not being able to react as quickly as I used to. You can make them work still, but there are many other choices that I found to be much more solid and safer to pick the enemies off from a distance. Plus, if you want to get up close and personal, you can still do that with the longer range weapons. At number 7 is the Almighty Spear. The spear is absolutely OP in this game. Out of all the abilities, this one just seems to be the best. Not only does good damage if you directly hit the enemy with the spear initially, but it also skyrockets your weapon damage when shooting the spear, all while doing area damage too. I mean, just look at the damage my gun does to this boss after I hit it with the spear. Other abilities like the Anchor or the Ancient Core excel in one area, like the Anchor destroys enemies in melee range with the funnel cone, and the Cube can do really high single target damage, but they just pale in comparison to the spear. Plus, the spear gives you some style points because it looks totally badass. Tip number 8 is grab the green. The truth is, you can never have too many healing syringes. I recommend always prioritizing buying the healing syringe as your first item at the merchant shop. They're always the cheapest item at the shop, but they can be the most important to keeping your runs alive and kicking. Up at number 9, common is cracked. Some of the common green colored charms are actually pretty clutch. 3 of them in particular that I really like. One is activate gun mode, which when you use an ability it grants you a 50% increased fire rate to quickly increase your DPS on any weapon, especially that fast firing plasma gun and the harpoon gun. The second is Giant Slayer, which will help you deal 20% more damage to bosses and elites. Never hurts to have that extra damage against them. The third one, Supersonic, is an absolute game changer. It allows you to reduce your dash cooldown by half and increase your movement speed by 15%. Makes you way harder to hit, and twice as many dashes makes it much easier to dodge fast boss attack patterns. The final tip is Lightning Loot. Lightning not only gives you critical hits, but it can chain to other enemies, and it's the only fortune that gives you a chance of an enemy dropping an item, with the minor blessing, Charged Bounty. If you kill an enemy with a critical, there is a percentage chance for an item to drop. That is one of the big reasons I have 825 health, as you can see in this minor boss fight. I had so many additional life items drop from dead enemies that I was able to boost my health by that much. And now for the main attraction. As promised, the build that cleared maps in seconds and destroyed the final boss in less than a minute, the Broken Bow build. I use the combat bow with the Return Arrow Primary mod, which gives increased damage and fire rate when picking up arrows or shooting during sweet spots, and the Smart Arrow Secondary mod, which is an arrow that bounces between enemies and surfaces. Combine that Smart Arrow with the Lightning Fortune, and one arrow becomes a devastating lightning storm. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on Abyssus, why don't you check out my video review of it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.